Welcome to the Postgame, where we reflect on the critical long game plays revealed by our podcast guests as they lead some of the most powerful companies in the world. She's been called a retail legend, and that title doesn't even begin to cover it. From Ralph Lauren to Nike and so many big moves in between. Mindy Grossman has spent her career doing something very few leaders ever manage. She sees what's possible before anyone else does, and then she builds it.
You really have to have obsessive curiosity and learning.
She isn't afraid of taking risks and is renowned for building a culture that people are proud to be part of.
I wanted them to have pride in who they were and who they worked for.
Let's dive deeper into exactly how Mindy does it. Welcome to the Long Game Podcast. I'm Eric Becker. I'm an author, an entrepreneur, and I'm founder and chairman of Crescent, a family office that we built to serve founders, multi-gen business owners, and their families. For all of the entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, for leaders and CEOs, the long game is for you. It's the practices, it's the leadership skills, it's the culture that can stand the test of time. I'm Eric Becker, and this is The Long Game. What struck me most in this interview is that Mindy Grossman is the rare leader who isn't afraid of taking risks. She took jobs nobody believed in. She walked away from a toxic environment with no plan, just her values. And at every turn, she found a way to take these moments and turn them into a new chapter. That's the through line, and it maps directly to everything we've studied in the companies that last. I value company culture so much that I carry a culture card for Crescent in my pocket wherever I go. We put this together literally in the first 3 weeks of the company, and we've been using it now for 9 years. It's there to remind me of the shared values that support and define our team, what we stand for. So when Mindy started talking about her philosophy on culture, I leaned in immediately. She described what she calls the barbecue effect, and I think it's one of the most memorable ways that I've heard culture defined.
So your neighbor invites you over for a barbecue and has all these people, some of who you don't know. And they go, well, who do you work for? Do you say, I work for HSN, it's the most incredible company? Or do you go, I work for, and,
Fill in the blank.
you know, you want your employees are the original influencers, if you think about it, of your brand.
Mindy's transformation of HSN is one of the most vivid cultural turnaround stories I've encountered. She was the 8th CEO in 10 years. On her first day, she skipped the executive routine and went to the employee orientation with 25 other people having their first day at the company. She walked the floor. She saw broken furniture all over the place and a workforce that had stopped believing.
I couldn't afford to invest to renovate the whole campus. So I noticed, though, that there were all of these unmarked chairs. I said, I have an idea. So I called the CEO of Herman Miller and said, I need 2,500 Aeron chairs, but I need them all delivered the same day. When can you do that? So they came back and they gave me a date. It was a Friday. So I gave everybody the day off. And we power washed all the buildings. We brought dump trucks in to clean up everything. And then everybody went home on Friday except the people in the live show. And when they came into work on Monday morning, they all had their brand new Aeron chair.
Mindy told me that she got 900 emails of appreciation after that experience of changing the environment for everyone. And it wasn't about the chairs, it's what the chairs stood for. I see you, you matter, we're going someplace new together. That's Centurion culture. It's not a value statement like poster on the wall. It's part of these 1,000 small acts that really show the authenticity to your people, that they are valued. 3 attributes of authentic culture: true authenticity, repetition, and ownership. And this story is a great example. At HSN during the 2008 crisis, when most companies were pulling back, Mindy made a counterintuitive call: protect innovation, don't retreat, Lean in.
We successfully went public in August '08, but it was 2 weeks before the Lehman bankruptcy. So there I was, first-time public company CEO, new board, and the world fell apart. We couldn't even get coverage. And I had a moment, and the moment was, how do I somehow use this as an opportunity? And I went to the board and I said, "Look, I believe that HSN can grow in 2008 and 2009. I could change the assortment profiles, but we could be a place that there's never any bad news on HSN because people are gonna go through a tough time, and we wanna be where they can go, whether they can buy something or not." But we actually grew HSN in 2008 and 2009, and so when we came out of that, the stock went up, and we ended up being the first retailer to do video commerce on an iPhone.
Risk, she told me, not taking a risk is a bigger risk. But she's quick to add, it's a calculated risk. You need to know the difference between a bold move and a reckless one.
You move forward, you don't look backwards. And that has given me the strength to make some really difficult moves and changes and, things where people said, "What is she doing?" Um, but when you have that belief and you see what things could be, it empowers you to be able to have the strength to take that risk.
One of the chapters in the long game I feel most passionately about is what I call beyond brand affinity. The idea that the most enduring companies don't just earn customer loyalty, they create something deeper, an emotional bond, a sense of belonging. If you have a body, you are an athlete. That wasn't a tagline at Nike. It was a 20-year mission, and it came from the CEO and leadership, and it really changed everything.
There was a big focus on performance, but there was also a focus on being relevant in culture. And so I had to really define the different segmentations of business that were going to live up to that mission. One of the things I love, and you write about this too, you really have to have obsessive curiosity and learning
Yes.
every day. I always say, I want to leave time in every week to meet someone new, learn something new, do something new.
That's what separates companies that last from companies that simply compete. A campaign ends, a story endures. And then Mindy told me about Oprah Winfrey and the WW Vision Tour. And honestly, it was one of the most powerful examples of emotional connection and experience that I've heard in any of the interviews for this book.
One of the things when we did the 9-city Oprah tour with such an incredible, incredible group of people, it was really for people to reimagine how they're gonna live their best, healthiest life, and one of the things that they had to do was to create their own personal purpose filter. And I now think every brand and every individual should have their own purpose filter. What are the questions you have to ask yourself at any given point before you make a life decision or a business decision or something that's really going to have impact?
When you can say that people left with their lives changed, that is brand affinity in its highest form. That is what Centurion companies I've studied have in common. The relationship with the people they serve is everything. One of the moments that struck me is when Mindy shared the most important question she asks herself and how we actually had that in common. I say, ask yourself every day, what are you tolerating but shouldn't be? Mindy asks herself, what would you walk away from? I've always believed that relationships are the bedrock to every success in business. You are the sum total of the people you surround yourself with. Minnie told me a story that stayed with me. She was in a toxic work environment. The CEO was disrespectful and a terrible culture. People weren't valued. And Mindy made the decision at a young age and relatively earlier in her career that most people would be terrified to make.
I asked to speak with the CEO. She met with me. And after about 5 minutes of conversation, she said to me, "Are you resigning?" I said, "Yes." She said, "You either have another job, you're independently wealthy, or you're stupid." I said, "Or D, none of the above." And I was escorted out by security at the end of the day.
And the very next day, Ralph Lauren called. Her values were her compass. And I think that story encapsulates something I've seen in every enduring leader that I've studied. The ones who last aren't the ones who optimize for safety. They're the ones who know what they stand for and refuse to compromise. I always love asking guests about the phrases and mantras that guide them because the language we choose to live by reveals everything about how we lead. And Mindy shared two. The first is a word she inherited from her mother, beshert, a Yiddish word that means destiny or it was meant to be.
So if a boy broke up with me, it was beshert. He wasn't good. If something good happened, it was beshert. And because of that, that idea that everything is meant to be, I don't regret. There are things that I wish outcomes would have been better,
Mhm.
but that's okay. You move forward, you don't look backwards.
I never look backwards. I'm not a regret person. That is a philosophy that has carried Mindy through every transition, every setback, every reinvention. And it maps perfectly to the long game mindset. You cannot build for the future if you're anchored to the past. The second is what she calls her purpose filter, the questions that she asks before any big decision. Will it make me proud? And will it bring me joy? My own mantra, as many of you know, is to ask yourself every day, what am I tolerating that I shouldn't be? And then do something about it. And to bring out the best in others. When I hear Mindy's purpose filter, I think that we're drawing from the same well.
So I have 3 words that have been my mantra throughout. Passion. Am I passionate about it? Is this something I wanna wake up every morning and I want to be engaged and part of me? Purpose. Is it purposeful? Does it align with something that I want to accomplish in my life? And then the third is impact. Will it have impact? Will it have impact for me, and will it have impact for others?
Passion, purpose, impact. If what you're doing doesn't clear all three, it might be time for your own moment of truth. Mindy Grossman is a reminder that the most powerful leaders don't just build companies, they elevate people and redefine what's possible. Mindy also reminded me that the long game isn't just a business strategy, it's a way of living. You have to believe in what you're building. You have to value the people around you. You have to be willing to walk away from what doesn't serve your values, even when it's scary, even when it's uncomfortable. Before we go, if this episode resonated with you, please share it generously. Please click the subscribe button below. Send this to someone in your world who is navigating a pivotal moment, someone staring down a decision who might need the reminder that recognizing a moment of truth is half the battle. See you next time on The Long Game.
The Long Game, a Crescent podcast, is intended for information only and is not investment advice. Any company discussed is not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any security. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Please consult your advisors before making investment decisions.